You're very welcome. You're very welcome. This is View Beyond You. My name is Jacinta. This channel is dedicated to those who are in the process of rediscovering your identities, nurturing your innate abilities, and overcoming all the obstacles that hinder you from flourishing in your true identity. And then in the event that you step into your true leadership authority, and then you also learn how to preserve, guard, and ensure continuity of what you are building. So we build inwardly first before we go out to build. So today we are talking about borrow not a few, that is capacity through community. You are very welcome. Thank you for joining us. Let's wait for a few more people to join and then we can start. Hello, hi Juliet. Good to see you. 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 So, guys, yesterday I left you with an assignment. Did you at least try to do something? I left you with an assignment. Maybe you can be telling me about what exactly you did. I asked you yesterday to instead of what did I say? Don't only you are rewatching the reawakening. Ah, okay, that's nice. That's nice. Did it help you? The awakening, sorry. Did it help you while you were watching it? That's nice. That is nice. So when we look at yesterday, I said stop focusing on what is missing, identify the burden, identify the oil, identify the problem, begin building the solution. Did you at least do one of the three or one of the four? Of course, the solution not yet, but at least one of the three: the burden, the oil, the problem. One of the three. If you can identify one of the three, then it helps you as we go on. That means you are paying attention as well to the transformation process where you go through from encounters to exposures, reconciliation, integration, all through to purpose. Oil resilience. Okay, the oil is resilience. That's nice so far. I'm sure there's more. But there's more that you'll keep finding out. The oil, the capacity. Oil is. I'll explain today what oil is all about. But that is good. That is good. Juliet, do you have any oil that you have identified, or any burden, or any problem that you have identified? It may not necessarily be the final one, but you see, remember, we are creating our individual roadmaps. And when we are creating our roadmaps, we need to have something that we are putting there. The final will be totally different. The final will be totally different. But at least you start from there. And then, like I said, the woman, the Elisha asked the widow, what do you have? And she said, I have a small jar of oil. So it starts from there. When you write resilience, that is your small jar of oil. And then you're opening up yourself, you're setting in motion what needs to be done in you, the capacity that needs to be built in you. That is when God opens up also as well doors and windows, for you to be able to access your treasures in hidden places. Juliet, anything, any problem, any burden? Kezi, anything else apart from resilience? Any burden, any problem? You may not be able to write the problem that you are called to solve, or the burden that is connected to it, and the hidden capacity already within you finally at the moment. But when you are creating your roadmap, you can have a sketch, like a skeleton problem that you are called to solve. You think as you go on, and you also identify a burden that problem is connected to, and the hidden capacity within you that is supposed to drive that. Okay? Because when an opportunity comes today, you ask yourself, what shall I do for thee If somebody asks, you say, would you be able to answer that question? Okay, So today I had a conversation with my elder sis, and I was able to give her advice, very mature advice on a serious problem. She said, my mindset was shifted. Kezi, that is good feedback. Like your mindset is maturing, the way you're able to articulate things in a totally different way. That's a very beautiful thing, Kezi. Thank you for sharing that. Uh-huh. Juliet, you said the burden is emotional and mental. Okay. For example, hidden grief, anxiety, or the future, exhausting pressure. Okay, okay, okay. That's a very good assessment. If then what? Because you did not give us what do you think the problem is? I want to try and connect your problem with the burden that you have mentioned. I want to see the connection, because the problem is the sketch what you think you're called to solve, and the burden that is connected to it. So where is this burden connected? Which problem is emotional and mental? The burden that is emotional and mental, which problem is it connected to? So that we can be able to clearly see where you're coming from, your assessment of the burden. Which problem are you connecting, emotional and mental areas of the burden that you're expressing? For example, hidden grief. So you may not be able to answer right now, but it's for you to ask yourself these questions. It's important that you do ask yourself these questions. As we go on, I'll keep you. Your things are going to keep updating. Your roadmaps that you're creating. By the time you look at them, maybe in a month or so, you'll be like, hey, they changed. So you see, I'm glad that Kezi, you go out there, you have conversations with people. And you see, today we're really going to be talking about that community, accountability, the platforms where God helps you and places you. Because that is where you actually have encounters, and you must be very intentional about those encounters that you're having, because they are exposing as you are navigating your pathway. Uh-huh. You're repeating these classes because there's something you want to achieve. I'm glad that you are. I'm glad that you are. I'm glad that you are. It actually makes you reflect more. I also do repeat classes like that I've watched before, and you realize that you will get a totally different revelation from each class, because revelations come depending on where you are at. Where you were then when you listened the first time or the second time will be totally different from where you are maybe the third time or the fourth time. So, I don't know. I think I should start. The rest will find us, because I don't want to take up so much time. And like I've said, the title is Borrow Not a Few. Because you can go in Brenda's inbox. I don't know why I insist on Brenda, and maybe Mia and Grace, and tell them to come to class, because they'll be like, I don't want, what is that? Like that, referring us back to where I have been. Yeah, but today, as a matter of progression, we are looking at borrow, not a few. Capacity through community. When we say borrow, not a few, yeah, growth requires, first of all, empty vessels, okay? Requires humility, requires preparation, because it takes humility for you to go outside to borrow, to acquire information, ask. It takes humility, and for you to carry out that preparation. Okay. And for those, that empty vessel of yours that you emptied in lesson 1 and lesson 2 needs to be filled. So you have to build capacity for it. So this is the empty vessel series, and this is lesson 7, borrow not a few, capacity through community. We are moving deeper. Hmm? Into the principle of preparation, humility, and capacity building. We want to have a very clear understanding of what preparation means, of what capacity building means and what humility actually means. Okay? Hello, Mia. How are you? Good to see you. Thank you for joining once again. You're very welcome. Today you can see our title. It's Borrow Not a Few Capacity Through Community. So after understanding the burden, yesterday we understood very clearly what the burden is, the hidden oil, the assignment. Let me again stress that particular part of the burden, the problem, and the hidden capacity. You must be able to know, first of all, thank you very much, Casey. First of all, you need to know the problem you are called to solve. You may not know it right now, but as you draw, okay, your roadmaps, as you create your roadmaps, I want you to keep doing those sketches. You'll see how they'll keep evolving with time, okay? They'll evolve with time. So, oh, you forgot to follow Brenda. Also, you don't know her, whatever. Eh? Yeah. So after this class today, you're going to follow each and every one that is in our class so that we can keep reminding them to help. So you see those three areas. I wanted you to understand very clearly the problem you are called to solve, the burden that is connected to it, and the hidden capacity already within you. Have that always, okay? Have that always when you're beginning class. Always have the problem you are called to solve. You may not write it down, okay? But each and every time you come to class, you'll see yourself improving, because you're going to, you'll see, the problem keeps evolving. It's not the same as before. For example, yesterday I told you that the widow's problem was the debt. Remember? The debt. The burden that was connected to it was the sons that were being taken into servitude, slavery. The creditors were taking the sons. That was the burden. Okay? And then the hidden capacity that was already within her was not really revealed, but you could see that she was told to enter the room, her house, with the empty vessels, borrow, enter, lock your house, and start filling. And that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to focus on borrow. Okay? We're going to focus on borrow, not a few, capacity through community. That's exactly what she did when she entered the house. So always come with those three areas written down so that you keep writing. Now, as you go on, you realize that they will keep evolving. It will keep changing because where you are, you think that is the problem until that final time when God actually clearly shows you that this is what has been the main thing. There's so many problems you may be dealing with, but there's one particular problem that is specific to you, that you have the antidote to, the solution. Okay? So now that you've understood what today is all about, preparation, humility, and capacity building, what it, because that's what is required. Yes, borrowing requires humility. Okay, so it's very important for you to be ready when opportunity comes, to know the burden that is connected to the problem. Okay, and the hidden oil in you. When you know, you don't even need to compete with anybody. Okay, so again, we're looking at 2 Kings chapter 4, verse 3. That's where we have the borrow, not a few from. Okay, go borrow thee vessels abroad of all thy neighbors, even empty vessels. Borrow not a few. What was this instruction revealing to the widow? First of all, remember what pushed her to actually go and seek for help. Don't do you realize how she was humble enough to go and ask? She could have said, go, you boys go, go, let them take you. But she did not. That burden pushed her to go and ask for help. That was already the first step of borrow, not a few. She started with the right person who would give her the major instruction. And that's exactly what we do. We go on our knees and we ask, what do I need to do? Then you're scrolling through, you stumble on a platform, and it has an instruction that God is giving you through the person. And then you start navigating the pathway. It reveals a powerful leadership truth. No one builds capacity alone. No one can build capacity. Please ask before I even go on. No one can build capacity alone. That's a leadership truth. So when we say borrow not a few, capacity through community, no one can build capacity alone. Kezia, I'm waiting for your question. The widow was not told to remain isolated in fear. She was instructed to move, go to the neighbors, ask, gather the vessels, prepare, and create room for multiplication. As she was emptying the vessel of fear, of all the pain that she kept in, grief, depression, she put them aside. Okay, you know what? I don't have control over grief. I don't have control over fear, but let me do what I have control over. I can go out, follow the instruction, borrow the vessels. Now, that obedience, that faith to do is what was going to deal with the grief that she was experiencing, the fear that she was experiencing. So you also ask yourself, what exactly are you experiencing? Put it on the side. Follow the instructions. You will see how the grief, the fear, and whatever it is that you may be dealing with will be ticked off one by one. Okay? Hello, Grace. How are you? You're very welcome. You want to know the difference between a burden and a problem. Okay. A problem is something that comes to you, and it is like a very uncomfortable experience or situation that you may be experiencing. Okay? Like, say, grief, fear. That is a problem that you could be having. Or pain, sorrow, anything that is like, let's say, indiscipline, financial mismanagement. These are problems that you could be having as you, or as a company, or as an organization. Those are problems. Okay? Now, a burden is coming from outside and it is placed on you. It's not necessarily your burden, but it's somebody else's burden, and it is actually placed on you to carry when you did not have anything to do with it. Like the debt. The debt may have been a problem, but also a burden. If she was the one who incurred the debt, it was her problem. But she was not the one who incurred that debt. But it became her problem because when two are joined together, they become one. So it was her problem. But it was the husband who incurred the debt. But automatically it becomes her problem. Now, the burden is something that you have an unction, like you cannot allow yourself to see children suffering, yeah, in servitude or in slavery, when you know that you can do something about it. Like, let me try, even if I don't have the capacity, the knowledge, or anything, let me do something about it. It becomes a burden. It's somebody else's problem, but you are carrying it. So God will make you experience a problem like the lady, a date, which required her children to be taken away. That was not her problem. They could have been taken away. She could have as well been selfish and say, take them, take them. But she said, she took it on as a burden. And when she took it on as a burden, how many generations were in these two children that she could have sacrificed if she allowed them to go? So the burden was not hers, the burden was for God. He knew what was in these two children, moreover sons that they wanted to take into servitude. So he placed the burden on her through a problem of a date. So you can have problems as a person, like grief, depression. Okay, they could also be called challenges, or they could be like something that is uncomfortable, an uncomfortable experience or situation that you could be going through. And you don't even know how to solve it, or sometimes you can actually, when you sit down proactively, you can actually solve it. Yeah. Then the burden comes in whereby it's external, somebody else is experiencing a problem. But because you've been able to overcome your problem, you're actually in position to help somebody else with what they're experiencing. So you take on a burden, somebody else's problem. I don't know whether that makes sense, but that's my explanation that I can give. Okay, Juliet, does that help? Casey, you're saying, how do you help a person who has already lost a chef job? Then you advise him to open his small hotel. He refuses. Now my friend is suffering because of the husband. Hmm. You see, you may tell him to open his small hotel. He refuses because his mindset has not yet, it's not yet revealed to him to open up the hotel. For you, you may see that in him. You have set it in motion, thank you. He will do it, but maybe not now. He's not yet ready. His mind has not yet perceived that, doesn't even see himself there. But you keep encouraging. What you've done, you've started with a huge thing. When you tell him hotel, that's a huge thing. To him, it is huge. Okay? He's a chef, and his mindset is chef. Okay? So somebody has to grow in their mind to get to a point of thinking about something as huge as that. Okay? Your friend should also, I think, contribute to the challenges that are going on by doing something about it. Let her also put in an effort so that they can all contribute the same way. You know, they can also contribute. Because you know, Proverbs 31, hmm? Virtuous woman. So they all have to, if one is having a problem, another one should be able to contribute. At least try, start from somewhere. Okay? So a burden, I must have gone through the same. Yeah, it may not necessarily be the same exact, you understand? Because now you all have different burdens. Different, totally different burdens. But because mine is to mentor and guide you on how you can navigate your pathway, okay, through encounters to get to where you're supposed to go. Mine is to guide you, mine is to mentor you so that you can build your own human blueprint systems. But you all have individual burdens. But that is my burden is to guide. My burden is to see that people's potential does not remain in potential mode. It is unlocked and they get out. Every dormant capacity reawakened, get up. Anyone who feels so tired and exhausted and is going through burnout, how do we get out of that stuck position and move into another level? That is my burden. Do you now understand? Totally different cutting across almost all sectors, because I don't know whether you're in government, whether you're in media. You understand? I'm dealing with your identity alignment. So you understand that is the burden for me is emotional instability was my problem, and now it is becomes a burden for everybody else who is experiencing the same. So now you understand what I mean? Okay. Uh-huh. Yeah, let go now. Ajarite, it's okay. I'm angry at my father. I'm tired of pretending that I'm okay, yet I'm dying inside. Okay, now, Mia, I'm going to give you advice. If you do, because the enemy likes using anger and bitterness as breeding ground. First and foremost, you're going to have to deal with yourself. Separate yourself from what is happening between you and your father. He's your father, you have to honor him. Doesn't matter what he has done. Okay? The best thing for you to do is to first deal with yourself. Deal with the anger. Ask God to help you. Release it to God and forgive him. Even if it is hard for other, don't speak in my language. It doesn't matter what he has done. Can do the worst. Hmm? There's a difference between um, dishonoring him and detaching yourself. Rather than dishonoring him, detach yourself first. Okay? Deal with the anger in you, because you're the one carrying the burden. So release it to God, ask him to forgive you, detach yourself first, and go and heal. And then you ask God for direction, what you should do. Should I go back, speak to him, or should I first leave? Should I first wait? You see, you need to ask God for direction, but don't be angry. That just accelerates everything. It doesn't add any value to you. Release that anger. Whatever it is, accept that he has done this and that. I need to forgive him. I need to let go of the pain that I'm feeling right now and do it for you. Do it for you. Do it for you. He's still your father. You can't change that. But you forgive. If you have to distance yourself, distance yourself. If it's something you cannot tolerate. If it's like beyond, because I don't want us to discuss in detail, we're going to take up so much time. But if it's beyond your, you just have to detach and ask God to take the lead. Okay? But you have to heal. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself speaking what you shouldn't have spoken and dishonoring where you shouldn't have. So you'd rather detach yourself. Okay? And ask God to deal with it. Then it means managing marriages is also a burden. No, 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 no. Managing marriages, no, 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 no. You don't manage marriage. Marriage is an institute for two people. Hmm? You don't manage it. Marriage is like a ministry. You, it's not a burden. It's a communion of two people who come together for a purpose. Okay, and there must be, of course, communication, agreements, and everything. Yeah, so it's not a burden. It's like a job where you go and you start working, but it's not like a burden. I don't want us to look at it as a burden. No, 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 no. Marriage is not a burden. It's actually a very, very beautiful thing. Okay, it's a very beautiful thing. Yeah, except for some exceptions. I mean, people go through different experiences that they would look at marriage as a burden, but it's not a burden. Okay, and regretting over the past mistakes. Now you're mixing up so many things. Regretting is not a burden. No. Good afternoon to you. Brenda, good to see you. Thank you for joining. I keep telling Casey, go to Brenda's inbox and tell her to come to class. Uh-huh. Yes. Thank you, Casey. Marriage is a responsibility. Thank you. Yeah, it's beyond, and he doesn't see the damage he has caused. Yes, that's why you have to detach and pray for him, okay, however hard it may be, and ask God to help you heal your heart and pray for yourself as well. Forgive him. Forgive him. Sorry. I sound insensitive, but I don't want you to think that I'm insensitive. No, I am not. But let me tell you something. God is going to help you to get to a point of forgiving him and healing from all the pain. Sorry about that. Sorry about how you feel. I hope you heal. You'll be fine. Okay? So, today's lesson, let's go back to today's lesson. Today's lesson is about understanding what transformation requires. Transformation in borrow, not a few. Capacity from community requires humility, teachability. You must have a teachable soul, teachable heart, teachable mind. It requires community. You cannot do this in isolation. Good thing we are here. And then accountability. I can see me and Kezi accountable to each other. Where is Sim? Grace. Now you're supposed to be going and looking for Sim. Yeah? It requires preparation. Okay. So I'll tell you one thing about capacity, or the blessing. The extent of what can be poured in your life, the extent of what God can bless you with, pour in your life, is connected to the capacity you are willing to prepare for. If you are willing to go an extra mile in building capacity in the different areas of life, that is the extent that you will receive. That is the measure that you will get. If, because you'll have created room for him to pour. If you create this room, you will receive that room. You receive, you receive. So the extent of what can be poured into you is connected to the capacity you are willing to prepare for what you want. That's why borrowing requires humility. And that's the one of the hardest things for leaders, for builders, for visionaries, acknowledging the need for help. Most of the people um, think that they are self-sufficient, but no, no. For the widow, borrowing those vessels required her to step outside herself, required her to acknowledge that she needed help. She needed to go and seek for assistance from outside. Isn't that one of the greatest tests? When you have to go outside and seek for help, sometimes it will cost you. Sometimes it will cost you. So, where are you going to get the money from? That's why you have to seek help outside yourself. Borrow vessels that are required. Because you see, at the end, when the oil was filled, in the jars were filled, she was able to pay and pay sell the oil and pay the debts. Meaning, she borrowed to even acquire what she needed. What if that house, the landlord, was chasing them out? And she had to borrow from the neighbor to pay rent so that she can carry out the process. It's a test. Pride will say, I can do this alone. Wisdom will be like, I need instruction. I need accountability. I need guidance. I need support. So, most of the times we delay our own growth because we resist vulnerability. It's not bad to be vulnerable sometimes. Let down your guard and receive healthy transformation, because that healthy transformation requires you to have a teachable spirit. If you can't be taught, then you're not going to be able to build this capacity. And remember the extent to which you receive. So if you have built capacity up till here, you don't want to, and you're allowing pride to make you think you can do this on your own. Mhm. Okay. My burden is financial instability of my family. Okay. That's a very clear burden. It has brought out leadership skills, communication skills, and problem solving, patience, and also knowing some people are different. That is very good. So now you see, it also teaches you how to deal with people of different diversities. You find yourself being able to teach this one, this one. You understand? So that God can lead you to go in places, and you're like, but there's something He's teaching you. So sometimes you need to allow yourself to go through the expenses that require you to acquire what you need for where you're headed, even if it means borrowing. Now you see, she was in debt. And the prophet is telling her, borrow vessels. But I'm in debt. And you're telling me to go and borrow? Yes, because that borrowing at that particular time would require, which previous message? Yes. I was reading Brenda's message, what she had put. Just read her message. I was reading her message. She was giving us a very clear understanding of the burden that she has. But like I was saying, she was in debt. And he was telling her, borrow, not a few. That borrowing was healthy borrowing. Because remember, now she needs to get out of debt. But she doesn't have means of carrying out the instructions, some of the instructions. So she may have to again borrow, okay, to be able to carry out the instructions, which instructions are going to lead her to build capacity, and then the capacity that she's going to build will enable her to sell off whatever she'll have gained from the process, and then pay off all the debts, including the original debt. But sometimes when you look at it, you'll be like, no, 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 I can't, you see. But it's trying to tell you now this time you're borrowing for a purpose, like it's very healthy, it's understandable. And you have to trust and have faith that God, who has given that instruction to the prophet, is going to see you through. He knows what he's doing. For some, it may not require that. For some, it may require. Some may have assistance from somebody who is facilitating your process, and you don't need to borrow. Some, it may require you to borrow. So these empty vessels, they represent capacity. When I say the empty vessel series, that empty vessel is you. It has to be cleaned up. It has to be cleaned up to receive, because new wine cannot be poured into an old skin. So that vessel has to be cleared of every chaff so that capacity can be built. But the vessels were not the miracle, the oil was. Remember, the oil is what you're pouring into the vessel. And without that vessel being prepared, the oil would not go anywhere. What principle is being revealed here? Blessing flows where capacity exists. So if your vessel is still filled with the old patterns, pride, bitterness, self-reliance, anger, ego, distractions, old patterns, fear, it's now still full. You need to empty the vessel to make it available. Okay? That empty vessel, when it is empty of all the things I've talked about, then it is ready to receive. You're creating available space for it to receive. It symbolizes humility. I'm empty. Bless me. Symbolizes openness to receive, but it has to be empty. It symbolizes preparation for increase. The blessing will be able to flow where capacity exists, but you have to first empty the vessel, build capacity, and then it can be filled. That's why this empty vessel series is focusing on surrender. Surrender, release the pain, release the anger, release the pride, release the bitterness, release unforgiveness, release all self-reliance, release fear, release ego, release the distractions, release all the negative behavioral patterns. It takes time, but you need to release them. You need to allow for healing to come through. And your healing is that roadmap that you are creating. Your healing is coming through the obedience. Do this. The instructions that you're following. You're becoming aware of things you did not know about. Your mind is being renewed. Casey said in the beginning, she was talking to her sister yesterday, and her sister told her, something has shifted about your mindset. You see? Because there's a renewal of the mindset. How she perceives herself now is totally different from how she saw herself before. Now she sees herself totally different because there's a renewal of the mindset. She has acknowledged her weaknesses. I do this too much. I do this and that. Now I need to put them aside and follow the leading of the Holy Spirit. Where are you telling me to go? What are you telling me to do? What do I do? Now, that obedience is even breaking the pride, the fear, the bitter. It's breaking those walls, the bricks. They are coming down as you obey, as you follow the instructions, as you draw your roadmap, as you navigate your pathway. You step into those unknown spaces. You are pulling down what is not working for you. That is what I mean when I say empty the vessel. It represents capacity, because transformation requires emptying before feeling happens. Okay? I didn't know that I have a family until I managed to afford a bread. Is that a burden? Yes, it's a responsibility that is put on you. But if you're to follow Solomon's principles, which I don't want to go through right now because now there we will be dealing with finances, you need, for you to be able to, let's say, okay, if I go through that, I'm going to open up a whole topic that I don't want to discuss. I understand you. But it is a burden, it's not a problem. It's a burden. It's a burden, and it's not a problem because it's coming from outside. It is not a problem. It's a burden. Yeah. Um, oh, don't be tired. Indeed, Kezitel, don't be tired. Don't be tired. Don't be tired. But you just need to understand whether you are experiencing extortion. Mia, inbox me and we have a call, please. Okay? Inbox me and we get on a call. Okay? Then I can understand the challenge very clearly. Please inbox me and we can have like a 30 minutes call. Okay? If you don't mind. For that particular case. Okay? Just inbox me and we have a call. You need to let it out. You need a safe space where you can let that all out. Don't let it out here. You need a safe space. Okay? So just inbox me and we'll talk. I'll schedule a Google Meet and we'll talk properly in detail. Okay? So as we go on, when I talk about community expands capacity. The widow had to go and borrow vessels from the neighbors. What does it show? That growth, for you to be able to grow, you need a community. You see now, we are here in our community, our small, beautiful community. I like it, by the way. It's small and beautiful. Yeah, it clearly shows growth. Yeah, because no leader can succeed in total isolation. You need a space where you are with people, and you can actually let it out if you need to let it out, or celebrate when you need to celebrate. Okay, sometimes, most of the times, actually, God places wisdom, mentorship, accountability. You see, case it goes into your inbox and sends you a message and says, "Hey, class has started." Mentorship, yeah, support within the people that are around us. That I'm talking about healthy relationships. Okay, this doesn't apply for unhealthy ones. I'm talking about healthy relationships, because the vessels that I'm talking about, go borrow from vessels. They represent encounters, mentorship, fellowship, like this fellowship, like this community. Yeah. They represent guidance, wisdom, those vessels. There are so many vessels of wisdom out there. But you have to be able to differentiate between foolishness and wisdom. Okay? There's correction if your heart is willing to be corrected. And shared experience. People give their experiences. And when you listen, you're like, hey, okay. So if this person actually overcame this, that means I can actually overcome this that I'm experiencing. It gives you hope. And that's the reason as to why community is going to expand your capacity. When you hear somebody else's story, then you are encouraged to know that I am not alone in this. Because every time you are in isolation, you will think that you're the only one who is experiencing the problem. You will not know that other people actually overcame such kind of problems. Yeah. So when you open yourself up to community, it's and I'm not saying go into the community, be led. Which community do I connect myself to so that I can stay connected, be accountable, follow up. What am I doing? Okay. Sometimes it's not outside your reach. Okay, it's hidden right within the community that you're connected to. For example, this one, it helps you heal. And I look forward to the day when Mia completely heals from anger, because there's accumulated pain here. And by the way, we understand you. It's not that we do not, we do understand you very, very, very well. You may think we don't, but we do. We do understand your pain. So I want to us to go into my inbox so that we can share a 30 minutes call, and I need to let it all out. Okay? Because you need a safe space. I don't know you, so it helps you. You understand? Just, is there any day of releasing? We can have a day of releasing on Google Meet, guys, because that's when we get to see ourselves. And if we can say that, let's schedule time, maybe like, let's say Saturday, we can say let's have an hour where we can just come and release, because you need some time. I like that, Hajara. I like that. We can just schedule a day of releasing. Guys, what do you think? Can we agree on this one? But Mia, you can go in my inbox and you first release with me. But can we have the day of releasing? Can we agree on it? Yeah, because sometimes you need to release. Yes. Uh-huh. Yes. No, no, no. Even the language is going to change. You're not damaged. You're just a bit okay. I feel bad when you say that. But it's okay. Just inbox me. But guys, do we agree that we can have some time for releasing, not teaching, nothing but releasing, and it cannot be on YouTube. We can organize a Google Meet where we release, because these are recorded sessions. When I come live, they just go, they're recorded. Um, I made my family to understand I enjoy helping them, but they should never blackmail me with family problems and they behave well. Okay, thank you for that. Grace, you agree? So all of you, you can suggest the day. If Saturday is fine time, and then we all, yeah, we're allowed to cry. That's important. We're allowed to cry. Actually, it's very healthy for you to cry. You're allowed to cry. You're allowed to wail. You're allowed to quarrel. You want to just quarrel. There's a friend of mine who just goes and she just quarrels. I say, hey, okay, Then she quarrels. Quarrels. And I'm just, mm, mm-hmm, mm. Just angry. But you'd rather have that kind of space because you can go mad. You could rather have that kind of space with somebody where you can just go and, let it out, because it can bring depression if you keep it in. You need to have that safe environment. So if you all in agreement, we can choose a day, like let's say Saturday, set time. It's time for bottling it out. Okay. So when we talk about preparation, yeah, preparation determines the extent of increase. Now, what we are doing right now is preparation. The prophet said, "Come borrow, not a few." Meaning, not a few. Was like prepare beyond limitation. Don't limit yourself. Don't limit God. Not a few. Just, yeah. And I'm not meaning borrowing the money or anything. No, no, no. He was asking her to go out and get different jars, not a few, beyond limitation. Don't limit yourself. Hmm? We like praying for increase, but we prepare for survive. You want increase, enlarge my costs. Da, 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 da. But then what happens? Do you prepare beyond the limits that you've placed yourself, or you prepare only for the survival mode? Ah, work. And I'm not saying work beyond your means. I mean prepare beyond you. Think of yourself. Um, I was listening to someone, I don't remember who she was, and she was saying that why would you go kneel down and ask God for, at least give me a small house? You're his child and you're asking for a small house. She was right. And I listened to her say, yeah, she's right. At least give me a small. That's how you are. You are preparing for, in a limit. You're asking, but you're even asking at least a small house. So if they ask you, what can I do for you? If a king comes to you, are you going to say, at least give me a car? Yeah? A car. What is it going to do for you? That's what she was meaning. And that's what he's saying. Borrow, not a few. Beyond limitation. Don't ask, give me nations, give me enlarge my costs. And then when it comes to preparation, you're preparing for 20 people. You see, the oil only stopped when there were no more vessels available. When there were no more vessels available, meaning she went all out, which means capacity flow. And you will have to discern what your area is. I'm only giving you general information. And capacity, that capacity flow that I'm talking about, yeah? I mean, the capacity determines the flow. Your discipline determines the flow. Your emotional maturity, you have to mature emotionally, and you have to be very intentional about emotional maturity. It determines the flow. Your spiritual growth determines the flow. If you grow like this little spiritually, that is going to determine the flow. The giants are not going to be able to take down. David was with sheep. He upgraded to bear. He upgraded to lion. So growth, maturity, discipline. You cannot tell me that if you're going to put in discipline this level, you expect. What are you stewarding right now? If you prepare to this level, you expect that same measure to be poured there. Don't expect this measure for this level of preparation. Yes, we approach him like beggars. Please, please, go, go. Now look at this one. You made it my image. You look at how you're asking me, really. Do I speak like that? Okay, speak like me. He's trying to tell you, speak like me. Preparation determines the extent of increase. If you want that, prepare for that. Don't put in this preparation and expect this. It's going to kill you. It's going to kill you. Okay, you've given a project and they're saying uh, we are giving $5,000. So prepare. Then you prepare like this, and then you come with your presentation that is worth $200. But you want the 5,000. Are you seeing the difference? So preparation determines the extent of increase. And I'm talking about discipline, emotional maturity, spiritual growth, leadership, stewardship. Prepare, prepare, prepare. All those things I'm talking about, the discipline, they influence how much responsibility you can sustain. If your level of spiritual growth is this, you're not going to be able to sustain warfare. If your level of leadership, of your leadership structures that you're building are to be questioned, you're not going to prepare for that promotion that you want. That responsibility cannot be given to you because you cannot sustain it. Your container is so that container, your container sounds like empty. Build cap. Go and muscle it up. Muscle it up. Don't be lazy. Don't cry. Sometimes you have to go through the pain. Go through the pain. It's okay. You see, Mia is crying here, but people, you see what is going to become of her. God is going to birth something out of that. God is going to birth something out of that. He'll turn it around into holy anger instead of anger of the world. And that is what's going to push you do things you would never have imagined you would do. You don't go through pain for nothing. No, the pain that we go through is for a purpose. So sometimes isolation can also become preparation. There are moments when God separates you and says, get out of the noise, get out of distraction. So when I say community, it doesn't mean you're going to be in community all the time. No. There are times when He separates you and says, it's not a punishment, it's because that uninterrupted focus is necessary for your development. And sometimes you may feel so lonely, but then what is happening in that time? You're hearing very clearly without noise, without distractions, and you're receiving a lot of clarity about so many areas that you may not have been so clear about or have understood. Hmm? Your identity is stabilizing in that uninterrupted environment. You're like, why am I alone? Why am I closed in? Sometimes He just wants your identity to stabilize. He wants you to see yourself for who you are. Sometimes we don't want to be alone. We want to be with people. We want to connect. We want to go out. Yeah. When will the identity stabilize? And it doesn't mean isolation completely, but sometimes it may require your time. Okay. Most of the times, actually, that is a time when capacity is stretched, and then the oil within starts getting revealed when you are alone. Because if you prematurely expose what God is doing in you, it can damage that undeveloped capacity. If that capacity hasn't yet been developed and you prematurely expose it, it can be damaged. And I think you can agree with me, most of you might have experienced that kind of premature exposure that has damaged some of the things that you've been working on. Sometimes because you don't know. And that's why this process matters. We make mistakes, and then we're corrected. Hey, I shouldn't have said this, I shouldn't have done this, you know. So before I go to the reflection session, yeah, I want you to understand what this oil that we're talking about is meant for. We can keep talking about borrow vessels, borrow vessels. What are we putting in the vessels? We are putting oil in the vessels. And what is this oil meant for? It is meant to solve a problem. It's not just given to you randomly. Okay? That oil for the widow solved her debt, solved the pressure that she was experiencing, and then she realized she had responsibility because it revealed capacity in her. Okay? And it also cleared the generational bondage that existed in the family. Okay? Because the sons was about to enter servitude because of that financial mismanagement and unresolved obligation that the father left with the mom. Okay? So it reveals a leadership, yeah, that sometimes the problems that we experience, me, sometimes the problems we experience in life, yeah, they reveal areas that require stewardship and integrity. What if, what if there's so many angry people that you have the antidote in you to help? Why is this anger loud? Could be having the antidote in you, and the anger is like the shield. It's shielding the real me. When you pull down that stronghold and the real me emerges, the real me is going to go out there and help whoever has been shielded with anger. do you think it requires your stewardship and integrity in some area of that anger? Because problems reveal areas. Write it down and write it in capital letters and tell it, you have been a thorn in my flesh, but the day I'm going to pull you down with the antidote that is in me. You will regret having come to my area, because I am going to go and unmask you so many different places. So many people are angry, probably crying out for you. So, what are those areas that require your stewardship and integrity that anger is revealing? That's why I'm talking about. Sometimes God needs you to isolate so that He can speak to you. Because the oil in you needs to pull down that stronghold, and then He shows you the real you. And the real you could be the solution. You will understand why anger is shielding you from something. It's something that is taking away from you. And every time you see, I'm going to introduce something small, just a little bit, not to confuse you. Hmm? Mhm. You're not building on top of anger. You see that anger, you're going to be the, the death of it. Don't worry. Don't even feel bad, because these problems come to us for a purpose. Hmm? Every time you operate in these vices, anger, bitterness, there's something that you are trading. There's something you are trading. Every time you get angry, you are trading a virtue. Every time you operate in those, because now you are not standing on the right ground. Which floor are you standing on when you get angry? Whose floor do you think you're standing on? Anger is not from heaven, right? So you're standing on a floor from the kingdom of darkness when you become angry, when you fear. So every time you get angry, you fear, you are trading. Every time you get bitter, you are trading. An exchange is happening. Because when Satan went to the garden and told Eve, what did they tell you? He was negotiating for a trade. So in that trade of just the apple, he was giving her sin. She took the apple and disobeyed. What did she do? She stood on the ground. She was no longer in the Garden of Eden. She was now in the Garden of Satan, trading. So every time you fear, you become angry, you become bitter, jealous. All those vices, just know the moment you're doing that, you've stepped on a totally different ground. And when you step on that ground, what is happening? You are trading your virtue. So if that can stick to your head, if that can stick to your head, girl, every time you feel angry, move away. Do something but that, because that's a thief. You are trading your virtue for a vice. So you're not standing on grounds for God, you're standing on the ground for the enemy, trading your beautiful virtues. And the oil in you is meant to solve that problem. So the miracle was connected to responsibility. It came as a date. Before you know it, they're taking the sons. Before you know it, go inside the room. Before you know it, responsibility. So, question one: what areas of your life still resist vulnerability or asking for help? What areas of your life resist vulnerability or asking for help? God is answering your prayer. I have anger issues, especially if something is clingy, not listening. So I'm asking myself all the time, why? Yes, indeed, He is answering. You see, Grace has said something very nice. That is the Holy Spirit that has spoken through you. I think that's why you did law, to defend the defenseless. Everything is for a reason. That problem that you're experiencing, you are the solution to it. You are the solution. And until you overcome it and the solution emerges, you need to use that same solution in the world where you're going to operate from, in that law, in that whatever, in that office. Beautiful. Thank you, Grace. So, what area of your life is still resisting vulnerability or the need for you to ask for help? Hmm? That I think most of you don't have any area that is resisting vulnerability because you have allowed yourself to become vulnerable. And I'm very, very happy because you have allowed yourself to become very vulnerable. I'm very happy that you have. Okay, so question two: what empty vessels are currently, have your whole life? The, yeah? Your whole life is the area, is the area that's resisting vulnerability. As in area could be anyway. Okay, if you say so, well, I like how vulnerable you become. Yeah, I like it. You're really transforming, by the way. You may not realize it, but transformation is actually happening with you. Question two: what empty vessels are currently available around you? What empty vessels are currently available around you? Could they be mentors? Could it be community, accountability, learning? Could it be fellowship? Could it be partnerships, instructions? What empty vessels are currently available around you? It's important for you to know. Okay? Let me give you an example. Okay? I'll give an example of a leader. Hmm? uh, they enter maybe like a new level of responsibility, yeah, but refuse correction or mentorship, or you only speak when you are here. That's nice. That's nice. That's nice. I understand. Understand. I understand. So a leader enters into like a new level of responsibility, maybe like a promotion, but does not want mentorship, does not want correction. Yeah. Eventually, what happens is pressure will expose that emotional immaturity. He may cover up, cover up, cover up, but when the pressure mounts, the emotional immaturity is going to burst out. And that leadership instability will be exposed. So it's when you do not have a teachability spirit, your capacity will be limited. And that promotion will expose you instead of revealing you. It will just expose you. That's why we go through these sessions, because they help you. They help you to expose innate vulnerabilities that you may not even know. But they like coming out when you have gotten to a certain level and embarrass you. So if you do not have empty vessels around you to mentor you, a community where you can, like you've said, you speak when you hear. An environment, safe environment where you can, or accountability partners, safe environment where you can learn, fellowship with people, or partnerships where you can receive instruction even if you're a leader. If you don't have that, anyone who doesn't have like a mentor to mentor them, however, even if you're a president, eh, time bomb is what it is called. That's why you see presidents have advisors, because that could be a time bomb, a very serious one. Oh, okay. Sorry, Mia. It's okay. So, um, yeah, you can still come and listen again, remember? Because it's uploaded immediately. When I finish, it's uploaded, so it's okay. You'll come back and listen before you join the end of week, which is tomorrow. So, question 3: what is currently occupying space in your life that prevents new oil from being poured? What is that is currently occupying space in your life that prevents new oil from being poured? You need to identify that. If you don't have identify that space, for example, if you're like a founder who tries to build everything alone, they avoid collaboration, they avoid accountability, they avoid delegation. Over time, this exhaustion is going to increase. Yeah, because if you, growth requires shared capacity, and if there's no collaboration, there's no accountability, there's no delegation. So what is currently occupying space in your life that prevents new oil from being poured? Is it pride? Is it that refusal to be mentored? Okay. Question 4: are you preparing for increase or only surviving pressure? That one we discussed in depth. I'm not going to go through it. You all understood when I said you either prepare for increase or limited, like Grace said earlier, you go to God and you be like a beggar. What capacity, question 5, must you build now to sustain the future you are praying for? I will post the questions. Probably Casey would have been engaged somewhere at work. Okay, so this is question. This is a reflection session. So that's question 1, and then that is question 2. So you go and carry out these assessments, okay? Carry out these assessments personally, okay? Yeah, I'm here sharing them. So far I've shared 3 questions, and now this is question 4, okay? Then this is question 5. What capacity must you build now, okay, to sustain the future that you are praying for? Okay? For example, if you are like a mentor, or you want to be like a mentor, you want to be a mentor, of course you will be a mentor at some point, yeah? And you intentionally place yourself in environments of wisdom, correction, learning, and accountability. Like this environment, over time, your capacity will expand because you remain teachable. That's question 5. What capacity must you build now to sustain the future you are praying for? So whatever future that you're praying for, you need to build capacity for it. You want to be a president? You know the extent that is required of you. So let's go to the how to steps very quickly. Step 1: identify the areas that require humility. As we go on with the capacity building, yeah, We need to identify the areas that require our humility. Ask yourself, where am I pretending to be self-sufficient? We fear to be judged. Okay. Okay. It's nice for you to identify that, because then you'll be able to overcome it. If you fear to be judged, you need to overcome that. You need to know who you are actually doing the work for. Are you doing it for the applause of people, or are you doing it for God? So when you understand that very clearly, when you will overcome the fear. That's a fear of men actually, and it's idolatry. It gets you to worship human beings. Every time you fear to be judged, you, you find yourself people pleasing. You find yourself fixing, trying to fit in, you shouldn't fit in, compromising. Every time you fear to be judged, just know you're worshiping man, and that is completely wrong. Don't fear to be judged. No one is perfect. We're all human beings, so don't allow that. Deal with it. Okay? Otherwise, you will not be able to enter some spaces. Some spaces require boldness and courage, especially if you're a leader. You will have probably um, areas that you are called to that will have a lot of resistance, as in rejected, not accepted by people. So if you fear to be judged, you won't be able to confront those areas. Moreover, you are the one who has the antidote for them. So fearing to be judged, no, don't allow that. Okay. So one, identify areas that require humility. Ask yourself, where am I pretending to be self-sufficient? Where do I actually need guidance or support? You see, if you're going to go through this transformation process, it requires honesty. You must be honest. So identify that area that requires your humility. Okay. So since case is not here, let me give you the how to steps. And step one is that. Okay. Then step two, empty what no longer serves growth. Empty what no longer serves growth. Like I said, right from lesson one, I told you you need to be an empty vessel for you to be able to build capacity. You need to leave that room so that it can be filled with the oil that you are building for. You understand? You have to empty limiting beliefs, pride, bitterness, that anger, distractions, emotional instability, unhealthy attachments, fear, self-reliance. Empty so that you can receive the new oil. Okay? Empty so that you can receive the new oil. Then step three, oh, I had not said, build healthy community. Okay, for starters, you already have a healthy community here, so which is good for you. You need to build healthy community. You have to surround yourself with healthy relationships, basically. Wise people. Surround yourself with wisdom, accountability. Always have accountability partners. That's very, very crucial. Um, Surround yourself with growth environments, mentorship, transformational relationships. Let your conversations become totally different. Like Casey said in the beginning, that she was having a conversation yesterday with her sister, and she said, there's a shift. Meaning, the way she's speaking, the way she's articulating is totally different. And that happens when you are building healthy communities, when you surround yourself with wisdom, accountability, growth environments, mentorship, transformational relationships. It's important for you to be in such kind of environments. Not, an idle mind is a devil's workshop. So don't allow yourself to be in that compromise. Then step four, prepare beyond your current situation. Every time, that limited belief that I've talked about when I said build healthy communities, you need to take out those limited beliefs. When the moment you deal with the limited beliefs, you'll be able to prepare beyond your current situation. Dream big. Hmm? Do not prepare for where you are, prepare for where you want to go. Prepare for responsibility, prepare for leadership. Hmm? If you're not a leader, prepare for leadership, prepare for stewardship. Because as you go on in this journey, you're going to find out responsibilities, assignments that, so you have to prepare for that level of growth, prepare for expansion, prepare for impact. Whatever it is that you're building inwardly, at some point it's going to come out and it's going to impact one person or the other. Prepare for impact. That's why he says, borrow not a few. Go beyond your limitation, beyond where you are. Okay? That's why this channel is called Build Beyond You. It's not just about you alone. No, build beyond you. Okay? And then step 5, remain teachable. Never outgrow correction. You know, leaders who stop learning eventually stop growing. The moment you stop learning, you stop growing. You have to maintain a posture of humility and development, because it's humility that makes you go to the neighbors, borrow this vessel, borrow that vessel, borrow that vessel. And growth requires humility, and so is capacity. Okay? So, as I conclude today, I don't want to take so much of your time. Okay? The instruction that the widow received to borrow empty vessels was never only just about those containers. It was preparation, it was humility. What was it teaching? Preparation, humility, community, stewardship, and capacity. Her miracle was entirely dependent on her willingness to move, her willingness to ask, her willingness to prepare and create room for increase. Every time you remain in one space, God has said, go there. But God, I don't have. You go. I will provide. You go. Move. Get up and move. He will give you instructions from there. Then he'll tell you, go the other side. You go. You are preparing not for the level where you are, but for where he is taking you. And only he knows the position that he's preparing for you ahead of you. But it will require you to move, because it's something he wants to build in you. This capacity that you need to have for where you are going. And it may not necessarily be in that place where you are. Most of the times we've outgrown the environments where we are, but we keep clinging. Brenda said clinging, talks about clinging, but we also get to cling on particular. And God has said, I've closed that door. Get out of there, because there's somewhere I want you to go. That is what that's how transformation is. By oil, you already exist inside you, but preparation will determine how much will be sustained. Okay, so the next level of your life is actually waiting for the capacity that you're willing to build. Are you willing to put in capacity? Building. So, the action. What must be emptied? What capacity must be built? What community do you need around you? And what areas require humility and teachability? I'm going to copy them for you and put them for you there. You need to identify what must be emptied in you. At least we've identified one of us. Anger needs to be emptied. What capacity must be built? Maybe patience, maybe self-control. What community do you need around you? That one you have to answer yourselves. What areas are those that require humility and teachability? Ask yourself, if greater responsibility or opportunities came to my life today, would I currently have the capacity to sustain those responsibilities? If you can answer that one, you're good to go. Okay? So, Let me give you what must be emptied. This is your assignment, okay? Carry out the assignments, and then I'll see you tomorrow, same time, 12:15. Okay? Carry out these assignments, please, guys. Your own good. You're creating your roadmaps, so you need to carry out these assignments. So that is it, guys. Unless there's any question, I would like to close our class. It was nice having you. Thank you for being very participatory. It makes it more interesting, and it also shows us the progress that we are making, this impact in our transformation process. I really do. Thank you. I can see you are actually emptying the vessels and building capacity for where you're headed. With time, you will get to know your assignments very clearly. As long as we go on step by step, when you go out there on the platforms where you are going to be able to identify the areas where you are assigned to. Okay? Unless there's any addition, are we okay? Do we have anything to say, or we should say shalom, shalom, be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and take dominion. Okay? Okay. So this is it for us. I should say goodbye. Have a beautiful day.